your business day right. Morning Drive with Tim Elliott on Mira Business FM.
This is the Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. Real estate news next. And Mario Volpe is one of the regular voices on Mira Business FM. He is a regular voice on the Dubai Property Podcast. He hosts a regular weekly column in the national newspaper. And he's a senior manager at Eva Real Estate. Just back from sunny London, post-World Cup final. Life's getting back to normal. Mario, how are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
You too.
So, what did you think? I have to ask you this as a lifelong football fan. What did you think of the World Cup final? Because we haven't talked about this.
No, we haven't. Well, yeah. I think the best team won for sure, irrespective of the shenanigans that went on between Argentina and England. I think Spain came there to play. Whereas it didn't appear that Argentina came there to play. They came there to stop play and just steal something. There's no place in football for all that sort of all those shenanigans, slapping around, falling over, feigning injury, trying to get people sent off. I mean, it's not nice to watch. Let's put it that way. But I enjoyed the England-France game. That really was a festival of goals, and it just goes to show you when two teams sort of relax, there's nothing to play for as such other than pride. You then get a game that produces 10 goals, which, do you know,
I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big sort of England flag waver. I mean, I'm from there, so, nominally you sort of support the team. And I thought France would go all the way. So, wrong about that. Spain were tremendous. But that was the game of the tournament, the England-France game.
Yeah.
Not really, for the goals, because it was exciting to watch and all that stuff, great players. But it was just the spirit of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was the camaraderie at the end as well. And credit to England. Third place is the best position they've got since 1966. So inching ahead. When England lost to Argentina, there was calls for Thomas Tuchel to be sacked and all the rest of it. I think there was a lot of knee-jerk reaction there from the tactics point of view, especially from TalkSport.
I saw some of that, yeah.
But no, he's got a contract till the Euros. So yeah, it was good. It was good for me because, well, apart from that, Italy wasn't there, of course, so it wasn't good from that point of view. But it was good that it kept your mind on football. And now we're only 3-4 weeks away before the season starts. So now you think, well, it's just another month to go, or just under. So I'm getting excited, especially now that we've stolen Morgan Rogers from Arsenal, which is hilarious from my point of view. This guy's been talking with Arteta for God knows how long. We come in and just basically swoop it, and out we go. And Garnacho might be going the other way, which is even better.
There's always an Arsenal comment from you, I notice. And Italy there next time.
Well, they're now looking to... Well, very good, actually. I'll tell you why. Not because we're going to improve, because we're rubbish at the moment and deserve not to be there, is because 48 is going to 64, apparently. And so they're just opening it up to the world. So if we don't get through this time, that's it, finished.
It's like participation medals when you're a kid.
Absolutely. Yeah, well done.
Oh, man. Anyway, that's football. That's our football update for this week. Thanks for listening. Real estate news. There's lots of stories. I want to kind of split this in two. So we'll look at some of the news stories this week. First of all, here's a piece of news. 1.25 billion dirhams worth of island homes sold out in a day. This is Modon selling all 300 Bashaya waterfront homes within 24 hours of launch. This is the proverbial flying off the shelf.
Yeah, this development, Al Hudriyat Island in Abu Dhabi, has been an absolute success from the get-go. It's been selling out. The land itself is in a very prestigious area. Obviously, it's waterfront, but it's kind of opposite the sort of royal palaces in Abu Dhabi as well. So it's a bit like the old Sakim Road, where you've got palaces leading up to Burj Al Arab. It's a very prestigious area, coupled with the fact then you're on the water as well. So it's just continuing the momentum, if you like, of selling out. And Moudon have done an amazing job in the. I mean, because when they first came on the scene, I never even heard of them.
Yeah.
And then sell out, and it just goes to show the appetite, not just for waterfront homes, but for Abu Dhabi itself. And I know there's lots of stories at the moment where Abu Dhabi's in the centre of it all, and the interest is definitely there. And to sort of sell out, I mean, listen, 300, it's still a lot of units, don't get me wrong. And we're sort of getting back to the heady days of 24, 25, where tokens were given and you had to queue up, and you might be lucky, you might get a unit, that kind of thing. Yeah. But this one was a good mixture of, apartments and villas and townhouses. So, yeah, all credit to them. And good, well done for anybody that actually got a unit there.
It's interesting as well because it's nearly 3/4 were new customers to Modon as well. And I think that sort of stands out. So fresh interest. This is not relying on repeat investors.
No, that's right. 71%, if I remember rightly.
That's right. It was. Yeah.
That's a great statistic, and again, just goes to show the appetite for Abu Dhabi and waterfront homes, and when you consider what's going on regionally, I mean, it beggars belief, really, in some respects. That
it does.
You have one side of the story or a story where it doesn't matter what's going on, these things are selling out. And then you have other sides where literally, people are changing their mind and thinking, is now the right time to buy? Well, evidently 300 people obviously didn't have a problem with it at all. And so the demand is there because the product is there. And I think that's the key.
That's the thing, isn't it? So this is new capital. This isn't just investors kind of recycling profits as well.
Yeah, because I would have thought it would have been a lot of investors who bought there before because they like the product, and so they may have come back. So to have 71% of those deals, literally new investment, is a feather in their cap, definitely.
What's your opinion on the speed of this? Because 300 units, 24 hours. In the old days, that was like, but at the moment, at this point in time, what does it tell us about that? Because this is the high end of the market.
Yes, exactly. These aren't necessarily just cheap units or affordable units. I mean, it just goes to show just how developers actually work nowadays. They create this buzz, this hype. They tell the agents in advance, sometimes not too far in advance, because they're just itching to get on with it, and sometimes they can't say anything until they've got all the approvals in place. But agents then go out and get what's known as expressions of interest, which it doesn't commit the buyer to anything. It just means that they're saying, right, we are ready to buy as of today. As soon as you're allowing me to pick a unit. Yeah. And so these sell out in a day because that's how long it takes, I guess, to do the administrative part when the client turns around and says, yes, I'll pick that unit. Again, picking a unit probably is done relatively quickly. A lot of these investors, even the new ones, would have done their homework and sort of studied the market a little bit. But as I say, it goes back to how we were last year, where although I would imagine they have done their homework, there's still not a great deal of time to ponder, shall I, shan't I? You get invited in, you see the availability, you know what your budget is, and you know what the payment plan is. It's literally just a case of, right, I'll take that unit because that one's facing this way, that one's facing that way, and depending on where on the master plan for exit and all sorts. So yeah, they don't have much time. So the preparatory work, I would imagine, is done before. But yeah, these EOIs would have all been in place, and often they are well oversubscribed. Not just Modon, but other developers, and that's why they can say that it sells out in a day or in a few hours or whatever. Because to process it is the time. It would have sold out instantly. It probably sold out even before the actual launch because they had enough expressions of interest of people saying, I want to buy. But then, you're calling them in, right, we're ready now. Which one do you want? Do you still want it? Yeah. Because at that point, they still have the choice of withdrawing and getting their money back. But I would be very, very surprised that sort of the first 300 and just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the waterfront lifestyle, isn't it? It's the kind of, it's like a baseline, really, for expectation for people. That is first piece of news today. Second one is, there's more figures here, but it's interesting. It was a Gulf news story end of last week, I think this was. Abu Dhabi recording 117 billion dirhams in real estate transactions. H1 2026. So record-breaking totals. These are official figures from Abu Dhabi Real Estate Centre. It's a 112% increase. I'm using all the superlatives here, but initial reaction to that, because such a huge number of deals, 25,000, nearly 26.
My initial reaction would be that I'm not surprised from the point of view of what Abu Dhabi has quietly been doing, positioning itself as, let's not forget, it's the big brother of Dubai, and whilst it's always or seems to have been in the shadow, especially in the property sector of Dubai, it's definitely come out of the shadows now and is revealing itself to be what it is. I mean, it's the capital, the investment is there, and it's not been the sort of brashness of Dubai, but quietly these projects are now coming up and people are realizing the value of them. So from the point of view of the numbers, not really surprised. Where I am surprised is the timing of it all, because when you consider that we've been in this geopolitical situation for 4 months now, and if you're talking about the first 6 months of the year, well, we're really only talking about sort of 2 months worth of potentially free flow trade, where no issues were in the forefront of any investor. The following 4 months have all been a bit of a question mark, where, by the way, buyers have never gone away. I've always said that. They've just been a little bit more cautious. Well, clearly not. Clearly the Abu Dhabi buyers have full confidence, obviously in the market, but in the government, and are thinking, no, I want a piece of this. So that's where, for me, the surprise has been, because Dubai is obviously coming in with great numbers as well. But I've mentioned even last week that, most real estate companies are seeing a slowdown in transaction numbers, not necessarily, sales values, but certainly the volumes are down. Yeah. And so to be 112% up on sort of this time last year, that's some going, especially in the first 2 months of this year. And if that isn't the case, then throughout the conflict in some respects.
Well, let me just put this into even more context. Overseas direct investment surged by 309%. This is FDI, foreign direct investment, 13.8 billion dirhams. So that surpasses the total FDI recorded for 2025.
For the whole year. So 6 months they've done more than what they did in 2025.
Exactly right.
Now, 2025, certainly for Dubai, was a record year. Yeah. And I would imagine that 2025 was better than 2024 in Abu Dhabi as well. So to be 300% up in half the time,
it's remarkable. You realise, don't you? And there's another stat here that really stood out to me. Non-resident foreign investors from 116 nationalities participated in the market in the first half of this year, which is a lot of people, a couple of hundred nations on Earth. But what that tells you is the reach has increased. Yeah. And if you look for Abu Dhabi, and if you look at the number of international investors, non-resident foreign investors before, it was 82 nations. So there you have 24 new countries, if you like, coming in.
Well, I'm wondering whether Abu Dhabi has also benefited on the back of the marketing that Dubai does on the world stage too.
To an extent, I guess.
And I suppose if then people just come in, they're going to compare the two Emirates, the two cities, as it were. Yeah. And have realised maybe that, I don't know, the pace of life might be more akin to them. That's why they're going maybe more for Abu Dhabi. Because not everybody wants that sort of glitz and glamour, I guess, that Dubai had it painted. So it just offers a completely different set of lifestyle, and yet obviously it is the lifestyle for both Abu Dhabi and Dubai that we are offering here, that the world kind of craves for. the safety and security is definitely up there. And by that I mean general day-to-day safety and security, which is second to none. I mean, Abu Dhabi, I think, has been the safest city in the world, followed by Dubai, literally, for absolutely years and years and years. So, from that point of view, why not? If it's offering everything, and apart from some brutal months, July, August, perhaps, in the summer, which is a little bit uncomfortable. The rest is amazing weather to top it all, plus the hospitality, the service industry. Why wouldn't you? I think they've done a great job.
Well, I was thinking that. I wonder if you could, I don't know how you do that, but there must be, I'd love to be able to quantify the Formula One effect, the effect of the Gulf, for example.
Yeah, I mean, Yas, I think, it's the entertainment island. I think has got a lot to do with it in bringing people in.
For sure.
Because once they're here, even if it's just for a weekend or a week or two, they're absorbing themselves into that lifestyle that hotel or that area is offering. And so, with Disney coming as well, that's just going to have more eyes on the area, and of course will benefit the real estate, because once they come and they see, some people think, well, this is quite nice here, wouldn't mind sort of holidaying here more so, or perhaps even living here. It opens up a lot more opportunities. And what is interesting, and this is also for Dubai as well as Abu Dhabi, is that people aren't sort of just coming for a year or two anymore. When I first came, that's what I thought back in 2008. They're coming to put roots down.
I know. Yeah.
And from that point of view, they're obviously investing in their future. And as long as either they obviously have the money, or if they're here getting a job and it's a stable job, then without question they're going for buying real estate.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the time I arrived in my yacht in Yas Marina, I thought I could put some roots down here.
All I remember of Yas Marina is one year I did the Yas triathlon and I had to do the swimming bit. So I had to do 1,500 meters swim in the marina. Couldn't see where I was going. I had my head out half the time. Am I going in the right place? I did quite well, actually.
You finished?
Yeah, we did.
Really?
I came, I think, in my age category in the top three. I used to be a swimmer. I don't know whether you know that, but anyway, the team was. It was two Aussies and a stallion was the name of the team, because you had two Australians and an Italian. So yeah, I did the swimming bit. So that's all I remember of Yas, but that was back in 2012, so it was a while ago.
Do you know the weird thing there? You said, I used to be a swimmer, and I'm thinking, no, I know, we've talked about this a little bit before, but for some reason, I'm imagining you in Speedos, and I'm sorry about that.
Well, okay, you have to be streamlined.
I know.
And swimming in... And I'm going to call it open water. It's not open water, it's a marina.
Yeah.
But I was more scared of being eaten by a shark, to be honest with you, even though there are no sharks in Yas Marina.
Jaws has so much to answer for.
I tell you what, it does. It has scarred me for life. Yeah. It really did. Yeah. What was it, 1976, if I remember rightly? Yeah.
75, 76, you're right. Yeah.
Amity Beach, yeah.
Oh, well, that's taking you back.
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
I know.
I was there with the mayor saying, "Go in, it's fine."
The answer is just stick to swimming pools. That's the way to do it. There's no bugs in there. They're not going to get you. You'll be fine. I've learned that.
Yeah, although you say there's no bugs. Yeah.
Well, potentially. I throw a story in for you today just because that's the kind of guy I am. So next one I wanted to talk to you about is Damac. They've opened the final tower at Chelsea Residences. Yes. So this is Dubai Maritime City. The first 5 have been a huge success and have sold out. 6th and final tower in partnership with a little football club called Chelsea. I don't know much about them. Yeah,
I mean, again, I thought a very brave move from Damac's point of view. But and brave from the point of view that it alienates a lot of people. Because as I said before, football is very tribal, and there will be people who won't go anywhere near this because it's called Chelsea Residences and it's all branded. It's not just the name. Everything. It's like a Chelsea fan's dream, really, to walk down the corridors and you see the lion and you see the emblem and everything is branded.
There's a blue sand beach.
I mean, there's a football pitch on the roof.
Yeah.
You know, there's everything is water based in the in the gyms, as it were. So the resistance, I'm saying, so like the water machine, not the water machine, sorry, the rowing machines. When you pull, there's a paddle and water, so you're moving the water around.
Yeah.
Hydrotherapy units, all sorts of stuff. So it's an amazing project. And but I read the notes, and I think either the notes are either incorrect or we've been told incorrect, because we had Damak come in. This whole tower apparently is 1 bedrooms. It's not a mixture. The one
is it? Okay.
Yeah, well that's what we were
Right.
told. At least that's what I heard. I hope I haven't got that wrong. Which actually just opens up again to a marketplace where the 1 bedrooms always are the first ones to go in any launch. I can guarantee you that for the Abu Dhabi Al Hudriyat Island one, whatever they had, villas, townhouses, the 1 beds would have been the first, or certainly the ones that had more interest in them.
Right.
So to have this whole tower as 1 bedrooms, again, I thought was quite brave. But yeah, it's the last one, so it's really a case of get in while they last, I suppose.
Yeah, the prices start at 2.56 million. I'm reading. It's a limited collection. I had 1, 2, 3 bedroom, but if it's 1 bedroom, that's fine.
Well, I'm only going back to what the guy at the presentation said. So I don't know. Either he got it wrong, or that's not right. It does seem a bit odd, to be honest with you, to have a tower just with one type of unit. So maybe he got it wrong. But what I was about to say is that it's brave of Damak, but equally you've got to look at their strategy, and this was the one that launched all these football teams or associations with developers. Yeah. Shoba was one of the first to sponsor to sponsor Arsenal. From the point of view of training grounds and that kind of thing.
Did it hurt you to say
yeah,
Arsenal?
It did. And but they never actually had a development, a branded development like that. So with there, it's more a case of in association with Arsenal, whereas Damak completely immersed in this project and branded it, and then they've gone on. So whilst this is still ongoing for them, the association with Chelsea from the football club, I believe, is more on the sideline. This is more about the project. But now they've gone on to sponsor the Red Bull Formula One team, and so the Damak livery is on the cars and also on the collars of the drivers. Max Verstappen and Isaac Hadjar. So when they're interviewed, you see the Damak on the one collar. Yeah. And I think it was January of this year, we went to some Damak awards in my previous company where we were the number one, and they had the Japanese driver who's now actually driving for the Red Bulls, which is different to Red Bull Racing. is slightly different. It's the lower team. And so he was there, and so the fact that they're bringing Formula One, and Formula One is a very expensive hobby or sport to follow, I can tell you, and more so to actually be involved in it. So the fact that they are now also sponsoring Formula One just goes to show the intent of the brand in general. And they picked Red Bull because at the time, you've got, Max Verstappen, 4-time world champion, not last year, obviously, but still, a fighter in amongst the issues with the new electric or part electric hybrid engine. So, then others follow suit. You've got Manchester United, Ohana sponsored, did Manchester United residences, and you've got a lot of these developers who you only have to go up and down Shakeside Road. You see all the football teams. You had Portugal, you had Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth. So it's nothing new, but Damak definitely were the pioneers of that because they were the first to do these branded residences, and obviously they picked the best team to do it.
That's why we're talking about it. I just wonder how many actual Chelsea fans have bought, and What does the name Chelsea actually mean in terms of this development? What does it stand for? I mean, that's what confuses me. Is this for diehard football fans, or is this the branded residences, pay the premium, make that little bit extra?
Well, it's a great question, because I'm looking at it through blue-tinted glasses, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
And from that point of view, that's why I say that it was brave of them, because they will be alienating die-hard Liverpool fans and die-hard Arsenal fans and Manchester United fans, perhaps even West Ham fans. I mean, can you see yourself living there? Probably not. I don't know.
Shall I put it politely?
No. There you are.
There you are. There's the word.
So that's why I said it was really, really brave. But then, investors probably don't care. They're looking at the location.
Sure.
And Maritime City is a great location. The bridges are coming in, so access into DIFC and downtown is not that far away. Sea views, the quality of all of these developers now, they've upped their game. They're using better materials. In the main, I'm saying, not obviously everyone, but because the buyer is discerning now whether he's an investor who's going to rent it out or whether it's an end user. They want the best of the best. Now, of course, these prices are relatively high, obviously on the back of last year's numbers. 2.5 million for a one bed is not exactly cheap. You can get in other, dare I say, up and coming areas cheaper or more affordable units, and hope that the area goes up and therefore the capital appreciation is there. So when you're looking at these, I think, to be honest with you, they're probably more attracted to the end user than the investor, because the market would have to be going up quite a bit for it to then add much more meat on the bone, if you see what I'm saying there.
Yeah.
But of course, if they're buying them at this level, the rental value eventually will obviously be on the higher side as well. So it all starts off. But then tenants, they vote with their feet. And if something is too expensive, they'll just go elsewhere. So it's a very, very fine line. So I think it's the quality, but I would imagine that, I don't have the stats on this, but I would imagine a lot of Chelsea fans have invested into it. Maybe sort of Indian Chelsea fans, or from the Far East, as it were. It'd be interesting to see exactly the demographics. But when it comes to nationalities, it's always, in my whole lifetime here in Dubai, it's always been Indian nationals first, followed by UK nationals now, or British passport holders, if I can perhaps put it that way.
Sure.
And of course, in India they're mad about cricket, but they're mad about football as well. Asia, they're mad about football, and the UK obviously is the leading league, if you like. The Premier League currently is the best league, and is viewed, and hence the television rights, and it's big business. So I would imagine that there were quite a few Chelsea fans, in answer to your question, but I don't think they were all of them. And the ones that bought and don't follow Chelsea probably don't really follow any football, and fairly ambivalent to that. And they just looked at the product, the quality, and of course its location.
Maybe they just like blue sand.
And maybe they just like the colour blue, exactly, because there's lots of blue hues there.
Blue hues indeed.
Yeah.
Real estate news. Mario Volpe is a senior manager at Eva Real Estate. This is Mira Business FM on YouTube, across social media, and at mirabusiness.fm. So Mario Volpe is with me, one of the regular voices on the Dubai Property Podcast, weekly columnist in the national newspaper, senior manager at Eva Real Estate. Mario, thanks for being here. There was another thing I wanted to talk to you about just before we get to kind of the main meat of today, and it is this. We talked in the last couple of weeks about the situation in Abu Dhabi, the rent freeze situation. I wanted to just talk to you about this article. This was Khaleej Times earlier this week, I think it was. It may have been yesterday, the day before. Just with an update here. Property owners, this is kind of the headline, prioritizing tenant retention and occupancy through flexible leasing. I don't quite know what flexible leasing means, but people having to offer a little bit more, a few incentives, bits and pieces, rather than, we're not looking at the rent increases, obviously.
No, that's right. And I think this is the tale of the tape now, not just for Abu Dhabi, it's also for Dubai, because Dubai followed suit with what they call flexi rent. That was their tagline as well. So it's the same kind of thing. Look, tenants are, I said earlier, tenants vote with their feet. They're looking for value for money now. Now, the beauty is that no landlord can actually increase the rent, but to retain a good tenant is worth their weight in gold. And so if some other properties are coming on at, dare I say, better value, then to keep your tenant to renew with you, you have to offer potentially better terms. And by that, people are offering sort of, pay for 12 and get 13 months, get a free month. Some people are adding in that the landlord has paid for a maintenance agreement or a service agreement. So should anything go wrong, you don't have this merry dance between you and the landlord. It's my responsibility. It's your responsibility. It basically the insurance kind of pays for it. So again, that's peace of mind. And obviously here in Dubai, it's the number of checks now that is coming into play, and more so. But it's interesting to see just how many landlords still, despite this headline, because you're reading the headline, which will be the minority. I'll tell you that now. Not all landlords are offering these benefits because the landscape isn't quite so stacked up that it is 100% a tenant's market. There are still these landlords who insist on a low number of checks. I'm only taking 1 or 2, and have rejected a 4-check payment. And again, this is where, and I was talking to some of my agents, they've got to educate the public that whilst it's your choice what you ask for as a landlord in terms of the number of checks, it will have a detrimental effect on you when the government is or the land department, should I say, is advertising the fact that a 12-check payment is actually going to become the norm. And whilst we're at the infancy of this all, some landlords are burying their heads in the sand and saying no, and then missing out because tenants are saying, well, if you're not going to do that, I'll just look at something else, because there's lots available. The availability definitely is there. When I was looking myself, I mean, in one day I saw about 9 or 10 units because the agent had lots of access to lots of units. And after a while, one sort of merges into the other and you forget what you've seen. So I was able to take videos and come back and sort of, oh yeah, that had that and that had this. But what I'm trying to say is the choice is there. Yeah. And that's also not going away anytime soon. So the rental market definitely is favouring tenants at the moment. And, if tenants can suggest perhaps to the agent and or the landlord that these schemes are there, then perhaps they can also get better payment terms if the landlord hasn't volunteered it. But your story here is that they're offering these benefits literally just to retain people and perhaps attract others should the current incumbent actually leave.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it is limited, I think. But, people want to sell what they've got. You've also got a situation where property management firms are kind of scrambling to overhaul automated renewals. And to strip out those if there are annual escalation clauses in there, they've got to get rid of those.
Yeah, for
so
Abu
they
Dhabi.
can stick with the baseline for Abu Dhabi. That's the point. So that's a pretty difficult, I guess for lots of agencies, that's a pretty difficult thing to do from an administrative point of view.
Well, you've been experiencing that, haven't you?
Disappointing. Well,
from migration point of view, yeah. When we change our systems and when we change anything, sometimes it doesn't actually fit, or there are glitches. So that has to be taken into consideration. So I'm sure that there's been some contracts or some notices going out totally not so much against the law, but not following suit with the law.
Exactly.
And tenants probably are going, oh, what's this? Oh, sorry, computer said no. So
no, you're quite right. We've had that this week. Just by way of background, we've done a migration here that wasn't as successful as it might otherwise have been.
There you go.
But happily, it's working because I've actually got some notes today to refer to.
Amazing. So all for the better then, you see?
Yeah, not that you'd
Change
notice.
is good.
This is a familiar a story, the rent situation at the moment, the limitations on rent. What we're seeing in Sharjah, there's another story this week. This also, I think, was Khaleej Times. I think this was on Monday. Some Sharjah landlords cutting rents. And offering a free month because all the roadworks going on. It's the summer slowdown as well, so that's another thing that's happening. Al Khan and Tawoon as well. Seasonal slump. Those are the things that you can potentially take advantage of at the moment.
Yeah, but I would say for Sharjah, you can add another dimension as rents. It would appear as rents are softening, and therefore people can get better deals than they did, let's say, last year. Then the people that migrated, I guess, from Dubai to Sharjah are now potentially looking to go back to Dubai. So that, I think, would exacerbate the lack of perhaps tenants. It's not just the traffic scenario in the areas that you mentioned.
Fair.
It's the fact that people are shopping around, and especially if they're working in Dubai, then they don't have to commute in, or certainly not as long as a Sharjah commute, or indeed Ajman, because we talked about Ajman as well.
Yeah.
But there the prices were actually going up because they had so many people wanting. So the landlords there have got a different scenario.
Absolutely.
But no, like I said, it is in the main a tenants market, and as a result of that, landlords have to look at and be relevant again. Because if people don't change or don't offer these benefits or drop their prices or accept a greater number of checks, etc., there are many that are, and therefore tenants will just seek those out. So, I mean, the same thing happened with me years and years and years ago. It was a sheikh that owned a building, and therefore he owned all the apartments, and prices were coming down. And we made an offer, which obviously was less than the previous year, but still comparable to the market. But the office of the sheikh said, no, we'll drop it by this, but we're not going to drop it to that. And we said, okay, well, no problem then. We'll just go over there. So people just vote with their feet. So they just move around.
Yeah, quite right. I wanted to talk to you about sentiment this morning. Dubai property sentiment. Another story this week, Khaleej Times. This was actually yesterday, and it's a new property finder survey that shows, unsurprisingly, buyer confidence remains resilient. I think there are expectations that prices are going to drop southwards a little bit. I'm not sure that's going to happen. But it means that people feel good about the market. It's Stake Predict is from that platform, 5,000 participants. We mentioned it last week in passing, really. But remarkably robust was the phrase used. And I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that? What do you see? You're in this market every day.
I see the fact that you asked me how I felt about some of these numbers. The Emirates continue to surprise me, let's put it that way. And despite the face of adversity, are still coming out smelling of roses. Nothing seems to dent what we have achieved. When I say nothing seems to have dented it, it's still this sort of machine that's forever going forward, because I've said the government is always looking at ways of improving, and people hear about that, and of course, as long as they get their facts and their news from credible sources, and I can't shy away from the fact that the market, definitely has taken a bit of a hit from the point of view of sentiment, as you're talking there. This report is slightly misleading, I think, because I don't think it's as accurate as you probably think it is. Because this report also says that buyers are expecting prices to go up. I don't really believe buyers are expecting prices to go up. You said earlier on, actually, they're hoping they're coming down, but that's more of a hope than anything else.
Right.
I think you are seeing off-plan and secondary is a completely two-tier marketplace. Off-plan prices, you will find some developers, some smaller developers, who have maybe tweaked their prices, but they've done it in a way that they're not advertising that. You're interested, you might get a discount.
Yeah.
Right? They're not dropping prices, they're offering benefits, like I said before. And those benefits also come in the form of better payment plans, easier payment plans, perhaps some DLD waivers or some fees that you would have had to pay before and now you don't. But the prices in the main are all the same. Now, look at the secondary market where you're dealing with, Mr. and Mrs. Kapoor or whoever in the street, as it were. They have different criterias. And if their motivation to sell is a strong one and the property hasn't sold, then you will see softening in prices there. The relevance of that is that we have to find this balance, because in the secondary market, I truly believe that the buyers think the market is worse than it is, and that the sellers think the market is better than it is.
Yeah.
And that creates this relatively big gap, especially at the beginning.
And you've said that consistently.
I sound like an old record, and when I say
I don't mean it that way. That's a conviction, isn't it?
It is, but I say it so often I forget how many times I've said it. But it is a true reflection of the market, because it is all about sentiment. The sentiment of the sellers think one way, and the sentiment of the buyers think another. The reality is they are both wrong. The market is actually moving. Buyers never went away. They just want, they're like sharks. We talk about sharks again. They're like these predators. They're hunting. They're looking for that poor man or woman or investor who unfortunately perhaps got in above their heads. And hence the off-plan secondary market is where you'll probably see the biggest discounts, because there is, there's another payment to make. And many deals that we're doing at Eva right now, the seller cannot pay the next payment, hence why he's selling. And so what's happening is that the buyer is having to not only buy the property, obviously at a reduced rate, but they're having to also pay the developer in order to effect the sale. Because I think I've said most developers you have to pay a certain amount. It's a minimum of 30%, some even up to 50%. Yep. And if the buyer's if the first buyer and therefore the seller has only paid the 20% plus 4%, they're 10% out, which means he can't actually sell it, but he needs to sell it. So we have to convince the buyer to make that forward payment. Obviously, it comes off the price. But deals are being done there because the prices that these sellers are selling at, the off-plan secondary, is considerably less. Or sometimes it's at OP, but often it's considerably less than original price, or OP as we say. And so that's where the bargains are at. So developers are not offering bargains as such, they're just offering benefits, a bit like the landlords. And in the secondary market, you will find the odd few people that are selling at decent prices because of their motivation. But it's the off-plan secondary, the sort of second buyer or the seeker of the second buyer where you'll find the majority of the deals. So this report where they say prices are going up, I mean, I can't see that anytime soon. This conflict has to end. At least the dust has to settle. But it won't take too long, though. That's the beauty about the Emirates. It takes a long, long time for people to either face reality that prices are coming down, and therefore when they drop but little bit at a time. I mean, from 2014 to 2020, 6 years, prices went down only 40%. But in sort of 18 months, when we recovered in 2021 after COVID, they bounced back 40% in a year and a half. So six odd years to come down the same amount as a year and a half. So that shows you how quickly we do recover, and either how slowly we go into this, or whether it's the fact that they're in denial, a lot of these sellers, and because they don't necessarily need to sell, they just say, well, leave it. So I did start to see some fresh, dare I say, some green shoots. We saw a lot of developers coming back to us, wanting to do presentations, and a little bit more interest from buyers. But then, of course, the pseudo memorandum of understanding between Iran and the US has put the kibosh on that a little bit, because now again buyers are going, well, we want to wait and see. And that's the bit I'm saying. I mean, you still hear all these tremendous sales happening, these big multi-million dirham penthouse sales. I think last week 200 million and 27 million from Bengati. So these are still happening. They're the outliers. If we talk about in the main, buyers want to buy. They're just being a little bit cautious. Some of them are piling in to try and get the best deal that they possibly can. And some of them are getting away with that. Others are not. And you have this impasse where buyer's not going to go up anymore, seller's not going to come down anymore. And sometimes literally for 20 or 30 or even 50,000 dirhams difference, that's it, the deal isn't done. Because then ego comes in. I'm not paying anymore. Okay, well, I'm not coming down. And people kind of just walk away.
That's right.
Deals are falling through. There's lots of, unfortunately, lots of deals where maybe we've reached an agreement but haven't quite signed a contract, and then something happens across the Straits of Hormuz, which then puts the brakes on things. It's a very stop-start at the moment. That is the reality of it all. So I'm not saying that the Property Finder report here is incorrect. It's about timing. I'm telling you real time. I'm telling you what happened yesterday. I can even predict what's happening today. What I can't tell you is what's happening tomorrow. Other than if we do get this period of calm or the dust settles, the Emirates, for sure, you've seen Abu Dhabi already doing it, Dubai will come back, and it will come back stronger because people then will feel that they've missed out. They've missed out on that period, or perhaps I should have been a little bit more risk averse.
You could be in for a very, very busy September to the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how many people. Obviously, I mean, they've now just gone off for the schools. If we were still in the trenches, as it were, like we were in March, then it would be a case of to see who comes back. I think the people have decided, that their life, or in the main, their life is here. Be interesting to see what the population figures are, whenever they decide to announce those. What you're seeing in the roads right now is the fact that it's the summer. Don't think there's people that have gone away and are not coming back. They're going to be coming back. I truly believe that.
For sure. It's not that quiet at the moment. I have to attest to that. While we're on the subject of prices, are they going up? Are they coming down? Which report can you believe? The State report, by the way, comes from not a cryptocurrency site, but a crypto-based survey. And Property Finder, I think, are quoting from that. From what I remember, so it's a very specific audience, although quite a wide.
Was it
5,000 people?
Yeah.
So it gives you an idea of that particular segment, if you like. Here's a question from YouTube from this morning, just now. The price on-off plan will go up? ? What's going to happen? Because material costs, because of the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, so I've also mentioned that as well. So when I say prices are not going to go up, I'm referring at the moment in the secondary market.
Yeah.
In off-plan, they are allegedly scheduled to go up. Why? Because, as this listener has said, the materials that are being shipped in, or at least the ones that they need, have gone up exponentially already. The one thing I will say is that the Emirates have been able to absorb this cost increase, or this potential cost increase, to date, and probably for a little while longer, purely and simply because a lot of the material is also already here.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to be as, dare I say, as dramatic as perhaps we once believed. Also, a lot of the contracts that have been written have factored this in, and they can't move. It'll be the sort of next year's ones will probably be higher. But then developers have got to be very careful, because if the market is fragile from the point of view that you only have to go boo and the buyer runs away, it would be suicide really to pass that increase directly to the consumer. So I would imagine that the developer and the contractor in the first instance will probably take whatever increases in the first wave, and then see what happens. Obviously, they can't do that forever. It is a business at the end of the day, and they can't sell at a loss. But I think these mitigating circumstances will mean that, yes, probably prices will go up a bit, but not as much as we think in the off-plan market.
Last story today is this, and it kind of backs up one of the things that you were talking about earlier. It's Khaleej Times report. It was Sunday in the weekend papers. Indians and Britain's lead Dubai property market as deals hit 225.7 billion in 2026. So top nationalities, in terms of who's buying, are continuing to anchor international demand. I mean, it's always been that way. Why has it always been that way?
I think you've got to remember that India isn't that far away. I mean, what is it? Is it a 2-hour flight, 2.5-hour flight, depending on where you are?
Where you go, yeah.
And there's a lot of people there.
It's pretty simple, really, isn't it?
I was trying to estimate, what is it, 1.8 billion or something? I don't know.
I've got that figure here somewhere. Hold on a sec.
Well, while you're looking, it's a lot of people,
It is.
and I think allegedly they've overtaken China as as the most populous country. So, and Indians are entrepreneurs. Indians are forward thinking, and they saw, especially from the sort of as early as the 60s, when Dubai, or at least the Emirates of Dubai, struck oil. They saw an opportunity there, and then with Sheikh Rashid opening up the creek and spending money on Jebel Ali Port, etc. They shared in his vision, and these people then had children, and those children had children, and so throughout the generations, if we're talking just specifically Indians, it's worked for them for years and years and years, and they've opened up businesses here. I think the population of the UAE is around 10 million. 4 million of that are Indian nationals. So we're talking nearly 50% of the country is made up of that country. So it's not surprising that they continue to be the number one. They continue to see the value of real estate and commercially as well, from a business point of view. And of course, it's a hop, skip, and a jump to go back home to visit relatives, or to attend to any personal things that you have to do from time to time. So, not surprised at all. And I can't see them ever being knocked off the perch, to be honest with you. They're too ingrained in the psyche of the Emirates now.
22% Indian buyers by some distance. British buyers 17%, but they're leading. Average home prices ticked up about 6% year on year, roughly 1,900 dirhams a square foot. Does that sort of steady, controlled appreciation prove the market's maturing, or are rising entry costs starting to maybe squeeze out the traditional investors?
Potentially, yes. This word of is the market maturing. I mean, when you consider, if we take the London market, the London real estate market has been going on for hundreds of years. Yeah. We've been around as a market here since, I guess,
just
2002 was when they opened up the freehold market. So we're talking 24 years. And I see the word, the market is maturing. I think I've even used it myself in the column a couple of times. And I kind of cringe at myself. but you can't say anything other than it's evolving to the better, hopefully. Yeah. Is it maturing? Well, yeah, but we're still such an infant marketplace compared to the rest of Europe, etc. So yeah, I think these anomalies will come in, but in the main, I think we're doing really, really well, and people do see the value. And you mentioned about British buyers. There, I would say UK passport holders, because there's still a lot of dare I say, Indians and Pakistanis who hold British passports, who obviously are adding to the number of the blue passports, as it were.
Well, it's a step nearer, home, really, isn't it? In some ways, I suppose you can understand that.
So, it's that diversification there, and then I believe China is also on that list.
It's 14%. That's right.
Chinese investors. The issue with China, I would say, is getting money out of China. So I would wager that this number, high though it is, because it's only 3% less than the UK nationals, so it's still a lot of people, is mainly people who have already either moved here and are investing here from here, because it's very difficult to move money out of China. even sort of legitimately. And from that point of view, there is this sort of block, and it's very, very tough. They've done that, I guess, to protect their own real estate market.
Sure.
But yes, I would imagine that number would be pushing the Indians if there were no restrictions.
By day, Mario Volpi is one of the regular voices on the Dubai Property Podcast. He's in the national newspaper every week. He's a senior manager at Eva Real Estate by night. You can often find him rabble-rousing, supporting the endeavours of Chelsea Football Club.
Well, only when Chelsea are playing, obviously.
I know. I was trying to paint a mysterious
I'm not that saddo that goes to the bar on his own, full kit like John Terry, waiting for somebody to come and talk to me,
with the number on the back.
Of course.
Who would be on the back of your shirt, by the way?
I'd have 18 on the back of my shirt,
right?
Because that's my birth date, as it were.
What name would you have on the back?
Super Mario, of course.
Of course you would. All right. Great to see you. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Just a reminder, if you are a job seeker in the UAE, we have some episodes that could help you as hiring trends shift worldwide. Many job seekers are asking the same question. Is the market really slowing down, or is it simply changing? Global recruitment firms are facing tougher conditions, employers are becoming more selective, and the summer months often bring their own hiring patterns. So what does this mean for the UAE? I speak with David McKenzie, the MD of McKenzie Jones Middle East, and Zachary Bennett, talent partner at Professional Pyramid, to separate the headlines from the reality and explore where the opportunities still lie. And you can catch those conversations across Mira Business FM platforms.
Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is Mira Business FM. It's the morning drive. Question for you. Why are developers ignoring Fujairah? That's what we're going to talk about. AJ Menon is back in the studio. More real estate. AJ is the CEO of Lux Vista Real Estate here in Dubai. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Tim. Good morning.
So Fujairah today, AJ, most people know about the shiny skyscrapers. They're aware of the business and tourism hub that we are in here in Dubai. Or they know about Abu Dhabi as the financial hub, the cultural hub. But there's a shift happening, I think, on the UAE's east coast, a place where traditionally things move at a slightly gentler pace. Fujairah is a great weekend getaway from the pace and the pressure of life in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. That's, I would contend, first of all, that's my first point to you. It's lovely there.
It used to be, but I'm very surprised by that. It is so underappreciated.
I think you're right. I first went there when I was a child. My father did a job in Fujairah. He was an engineer. So that would be 1980. I went for one summer, and they were building a seawall along the seafront there. And it was kind of quaint, a seaside place. It's changed a bit now, though, of course.
In my previous career, Fujairah was the place. I was a commodity trader. I was a marine fuels trader. So Fujairah was the hub. I mean, it's still the hub.
I knew you'd done something else apart from this real estate game. No, I mean, it really was, but it's right back in the forefront at the moment for some fairly obvious reasons in terms of, the conflict backdrop, if you like. In the world of shipping and I guess bunkering as well, Fujairah holds a pretty important position in the Emirates to be fair, probably regionally. I think that's an important position. So we could see potentially a major real estate story here.
That is correct. Especially DP World just announced that they're going to create a new multi-purpose port to expand the container handling. This is to get the cargo directly on the Gulf of Oman instead of entirely relying on Jebel Ali port, which is inside the Strait of Hormuz. Definitely, it's a wider national strategy for limiting geopolitical risk. That like what we've seen now.
Yeah.
But what was Fujairah before? Fujairah was always a bunkering hub. Bunkering means refueling of ships.
Yes.
So when the the ships are being refueled, there's a lot of crew change. There's a lot of things that happen. So Fujairah for shipping, it's very important. And it's not just the regional bunkering hub. It is number 2 in the entire world. Singapore comes first. Number 2 is Fujairah. Number 3 is Antwerp, Rotterdam.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So it is very important. And what used to happen is now we've seen Fujairah getting more and more prominence. The first Etihad rail was from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah.
Yes.
Now ADNOC will also have a Habshan Fujairah oil pipeline to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. So now you get the drift, how Fujairah is. So this is exactly how Jebel Ali Port was evolved over the period.
Yeah, I'm joining the dots. I was going to make the point, actually, Fujairah is well served by Etihad Rail from the outset. So the big picture as to why the UAE is making this kind of major push towards the Gulf of Oman, if you like, it is a great deal to do with the Indian Ocean, really. It's a great deal to do with what we've seen over the last 4 months or so.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So that means the government is focusing on that particular area. So what follows? So if and when the DP World port starts getting operational, thousands of jobs will be created in the shipping, logistics, and warehousing, that kind of jobs. So then government is already putting the money in. Industrial parks and warehousing will come up. Population will grow. Residential communities, and then obviously the retail and whatever is needed to serve that particular crowd. So it's a normal push towards to a much bigger economy happening in later in the future.
Okay, so I mean, right now at this point, Jebel Ali is still kind of the king. That's not in dispute, of course. But Fujairah holds some cards, doesn't it? The region's largest bunkering hub, second biggest. I didn't realize second biggest on Earth. It hosts ADNOC's oil bypass pipeline. Etihad Rail has connected it westwards. How quickly can this East Coast kind of gateway actually transform from an oil and bunkering port into a container hub, a
Yes.
major container hub?
They're talking about 18 months. So even if you extend a little bit, because this is done very quickly.
Accelerated. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
because this is the need of the hour.
Yeah.
So and something like it becomes a national emergency kind of thing. So if they say 18 months, it is going to take 18 months. Or worst case scenario, 2 years.
It's remarkable. I'm still kind of knocked back by the second biggest on Earth, but I didn't realise. For some reason, I think I should have known that. When people hear major port development in the UAE, they immediately think of the rise of Dubai over 30 plus years. You would caution, I guess, that you shouldn't expect another Dubai overnight because there must be some structural limitations.
Definitely, because see, you can never expect another Dubai. Fujairah is more of a mid-market area. So this is more an employment-related infrastructure growth rather than lifestyle buyers.
It's a smaller baseline population
Yeah,
as well,
the
isn't
population is small.
Yeah.
The tourism is not as great as Dubai and Ras Al Khaimah.
Right.
There is no international corporate presence out there. Eventually, it may grow,
yeah.
but as of now, it isn't. So we are what will be on demand. I would say affordable apartments, staff accommodation, warehouses and logistics parks, mid-market townhouse and villas for middle management. So this is what I would expect, at least in the short run.
Sure. So given all of this, you're kind of saying that the Fujairah play, as it were, is potentially the next big real estate and logistics frontier? Am I overplaying it a bit?
I don't think you're overplaying it, but I don't think the developers have realized it, or because maybe they've realized it, not announced it, because as of now, nobody has actually made any announcement that they're creating a master community in Fujairah in light of this new announcement from DP World.
Yeah.
So if a master developer comes in, he's the first mover advantage, they will perform quite well. And so will the initial investors.
Yeah. No, everything's falling into place. I mean, this is not a lifestyle or luxury-driven market. It's a very different market. I think that's the point. So what is the driver? If thousands of logistics, shipping, supply chain jobs land in Fujairah as the port scales up, this is almost like how long is a piece of string. But what kind of real estate demand do you think we're looking at?
We are talking about gradual, it's like how Jebel Ali Port evolved over the years. So initially what happens, the port comes in, then obviously the employment comes in, people will come in, they will need housing, then they will need retail, they will need hospitality. So it's a whole community, it's a whole city being built brick by brick.
Demand driven by employment rather than
Lifestyle.
lifestyle options. Okay. You said no developers have come forward at the moment, but are there any whispers of the big names already?
It's all rumors at the moment. I've heard rack properties are talking about it.
Okay.
But nothing from our big guys, or at least I've not heard anything. This is more of UAE is very, very smartly positioning its Emirates. It's almost like a strategic redundancy. Dubai is all about your financial and commercial hub. Abu Dhabi is your energy and sovereign wealth hub.
Yeah.
Ras Al Khaimah is your gaming and tourist aspect.
Yeah.
So now Fujairah will be the gateway of the logistics gateway of the thing towards the east.
Yeah, it makes sense. The way the spread across the country.
So there is no
makes sense.
cannibalization.
No, and the way Etihad Rail has panned out makes sense as well. If you're an investor, a canny investor, and you're listening or watching at the moment, and you're used to the kind of quick flip mentality, the Dubai off-plan property mentality, how should you consider Fujairah? Because it seems to me it's a much longer term.
If you are a quick flip investor, you're in the wrong emirate. Right. So this is definitely a medium to long-term play. This is for, it applies to both developers and investors, both, because the first mover advantage will always be there. It will take time, but you can or that the developer can afford to build bigger properties for cheaper prices, which is a great investment for investors, early investors. Imagine a one bedroom for 700,000 dirhams. Imagine a two bedroom townhouse for 1.2 million dirhams. I know it is very well possible because a major government developer very recently announced a project in between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I'm talking about the most expensive job, the Emirates, right? A two-bedroom apartment, a two-bedroom townhouse for 1.7 million. So if they can offer 1.7 million there, definitely 1.2 million in Fujairah is possible.
Yeah, well, you would think so, I guess. A nice place to live as well, Fujairah.
It's a calm place. It's a nice place.
Through the Hajjar Mountains, and I sometimes we gather at the weekends, and I'm driving. I'm like, I want to move here, and my wife's like, oh, not again. Everywhere I go, I want to move to. But it is. I mean, it's very attractive in a number of ways. It feels like you mentioned this. So if the UAE is drawing a very sort of clear, it's a coordinated map for each Emirates. Dubai, the commercial engine; Abu Dhabi, sovereign wealth, energy; Ras Al Khaimah, tourism, gaming; Fujairah, logistics. How does that fit into the country's kind of broader economic resilience? Just put that into perspective.
See, everything brings its own contribution to the economy of the country. So obviously, the tourism and the commercial thing brings that kind of money, that kind of investors to Dubai. Then Abu Dhabi has its own ADGM, it's got sovereign wealth funds. You're talking about private offices, family offices moving there. And then you have obviously the gaming related crowd and population, which is about to come hit Ras Al Khaimah when it is ready on 2027. And then this is definitely the growth engine. I mean, for any country to be really successful, you need that industrial growth engine. And if you're talking about shipping, logistics, it is a major income generator. And Dubai or UAE is known for as a trading hub. So if we have problems in the Strait of Hormuz, giving us that flexibility in the Gulf of Oman, completely bypassing the Strait of Hormuz, we are back in business.
I always like your analysis. I can always follow your analysis. Very often I sit here and I'm struggling to keep up, but you have a way of explaining it. I suppose it's worth reiterating as well, isn't it, that the current positioning is between the government infrastructure announcements and industrial build-out. So early investors would be entering at the ground floor even before, the mass retail or the lifestyle kind of assets catch up.
Correct, because obviously first is government spending. That's where the infrastructure comes into play. Then it's corporate private investment, which is where your warehousing and logistics parks come in. Then that becomes jobs. Job means population growth, and that's when the developers, they come in and they start giving the housing options. So that's residential apartments. Then once that population moves in, obviously they will need service. They need retail. They need places to shop. They need to go out and eat.
They do. Who would have thought? I mean, Dubai now is an international brand. Abu Dhabi is an international brand. I guess Ras Al Khaimah, you could argue, is fast becoming a pretty well-known international brand. The next one is Fujairah.
And that's because most of the people do not understand Fujairah. If you ask any shipping person, any place in the world, any country in the world, so be it, he must be from Indonesia, he must be from whichever thing, everyone would have gone to Fujairah at some stage.
Does that frustrate you a little bit? Because, I mean, it was your game for a long time, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. It was caught up, I suppose. So this is not to position Fujairah as kind of the next Dubai bubble. We're not trying to do that. This is a hard asset logistics play. This is a long-term thing.
See, when I'm thinking in terms of real estate. So, and I don't want to still play around between JVC and Business Ban, which everybody and their mother is on. Right? So all the developers are there. You've got properties from 800 dirhams square foot all the way to 1,800 dirhams square foot. You're competing with everybody. I mean, but when these kind of new markets come in, that is when we should go along with the government. We should go along with the developer. As an investor, we go in first. It's an early investor mindset. In any walk of life, you have to be first, best, or different. You are never the best because there's always somebody better than you.
Oh, don't I know it?
At least you can try to be the first.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I always like talking to you, AJ. I always appreciate you coming to join us. AJ Menon is the CEO of Lux Vista Real Estate here in Dubai. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Tim. Thanks.
Thank you. In case you missed it, we're revisiting some of our, in particular, one of our previous conversations on the changing media landscape and the growing challenges of reporting the news in an age of misinformation. From international headlines about Dubai to the pressures of covering global conflict and maintaining public trust. I've been speaking with Justin Harper, editor at Arabian Business, CEO Middle East, a contributor to Arabian Business, and CEO Middle East, Sahim Salim, the editor for the UAE Khalij Times, and Mark Thompson, who's the editor-in-chief at Gulf News, about the responsibility of modern journalism, the fight for credibility, and why accurate reporting matters more than ever. You can catch these conversations across Mira Business FM platforms.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. Back to office policies, slower hiring, a tougher job market, all changing more than workplace culture. They're changing the way people dress for work. Is what you wear becoming a career advantage once again? There's a question. Joining us to explain why your wardrobe could be shaping first impressions, very often does, shaping promotions, and maybe even contributing to job security is Raluca Marku, who is a Dubai-based image scientist. She's back with us again. Nice to see you.
Great to be back.
Good to have you here. So look, we've got this situation where corporate trends are shifting. Back to office mandates are kind of in effect. We're kind of heading back to work, I guess. The job market is definitely tighter. Is power dressing making a comeback?
I wouldn't say power dressing is making a comeback.
No,
at least not in
shoulder pads.
not in that sense of corporate suits and formal dressing. But I see a smarter way of dressing. You know, people in unstable, uncertain times, they try to anchor in more clarity, safety, stability. So I would say they dress smarter, not as in a smart dress code, meaning, but smarter as in more intentional and more aligned with what they're trying to achieve. So if you think, for a few years now, people were, because of the blurred lines between the work mode and the home mode, most workplaces became a bit more casual or very casual, even some of them. But now you need to actually be more visible and differentiate yourself in the workplace because of the uncertainty and the, slower hiring and all the situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So are you seeing more professionals maybe rethinking what they wear to work, but I guess it's making more effort, right?
I think they do put in the effort. If you remember, we used to say, dress for the job you want.
That's right.
But that would be valid in a stable job market. You dress for the opportunity. But today, I think we're moving more into dress for the trust you want, because you need to have a stronger, way of showing up, way of making yourself unique.
So purpose, really.
Yeah,
Look
more
as
effort,
though you
more
have
purposeful.
purpose. Yeah, okay.
And more aligned with the role that you have, the authority of the role that you have, let's say.
Okay. So the job market is tough at the moment and hiring has slowed down. So when that happens, more people, I think, focus on updating their CV, their resume. They sharpen their LinkedIn profile. We should also be looking at our wardrobes as well, because it's kind of like it's a representation. It's a physical CV, physical resume, isn't it?
It is. And I think a lot of people do that. And it's a great thing to do because your visual cues and the way you show up accounts for a lot of the first impressions.
Yeah.
But I would say for the job seekers to remember two things before they go building an outfit. So one is, in uncertain times, people read faster. They look for cues of stability, certainty, clarity.
Okay.
So it's not like when everything goes right, someone may think, let me see the whole data set, or let me assess the context or the background. Let me hear the full story, Now people go into quick judgments mode and they rely on what's immediately readable. which are the visual cues.
Gotcha.
So one thing, people read you fast. And the second thing, two things they first see in you is your face and your hands. So your face, yeah, visible hands.
Yeah, I know.
So these two things being said, you need to make sure you have harmony and quality around your face. So whatever is on your upper body to have like more structure, to be cleaner, better fabrics, good contrast, grooming. So everything that frames this area, basically.
Okay.
And then make sure you put your hands back on the table.
Okay.
Or
My hands are, I've got a pen
visible.
in, they're there. Yeah.
Visible hands.
Okay.
Make like hand gestures because this increases the understanding of your message as well. And it makes you come across like more confident. And
I have to stop myself. I do that all the time. I'm waving my hands about like I'm an Italian man. And respect to all Italians, I don't mean that in a
yeah, I
bad
mean,
way.
don't
but
overdo it.
I know
But
I do that a lot. I have to stop myself.
But make sure they accompany what you're saying rather than just waving in the
Right,
air. Like
okay.
when you say, I have two things to say, 1, 2, or, you know, my heart is this big.
It's interesting
you know,
that
or-
you say that about hands, actually. I hadn't really
Yeah.
thought about that. But I suppose if the thinking behind that, the kind of the subtext to that is if your hands are not visible, are you hiding something? Is that what we read from people?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a quick
It's an
reading.
easy-
It's
easy
not a
thing to
very
be-
conscious. Yeah.
So if I do this to you, I open out my palms to you. That
Yeah,
do you feel
especially
like I'm
palms.
being quite honest? I'm quite
Totally.
open. I'm being
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay.
This
That
is
makes a lot of sense.
evolutionary. You're
Yeah.
like a friend. You have nothing to hide.
Yeah, and these are the things that we don't think about. But you know, the smart people, the smart ones amongst us, maybe think about it and use that to an extent. But if it's natural, can we talk about a little bit about the hard sort of economics of style? Can your outfit really influence promotions or maybe career opportunities, or on the other side of it, if you don't dress great and are you potentially going to be overlooked for a promotion or maybe fired because you're not cutting it? Is it as serious as that?
I wouldn't
I'm
say how you
stretching.
dress should be, I know, like
it
a
adds.
reason to be dismissed
Right.
in a position or, you know, to be the sole or the primary reason you are promoted or given a higher opportunity. But so your outfit won't give you the promotion alone. You still need to perform and show the competence level for that role, right? But the way you dress and the way your outfit is aligned to the role you want, for example, or the role you have, makes people into thinking the promotion makes sense, you know? So you're capable.
Yeah,
You
okay.
understand the room you're in. You're looking for something better. You're an achiever, right? So, but that also depends on the type of role and the industry you're in. I mean, a tech founder versus a banker, they obviously don't have to dress the same, so they don't have the same outfit formula, let's say.
Well, you kind of expect them not to now, don't you? It'd
Yeah.
be quite odd if, you know, the tech founder's in a pinstripe suit. and
Yeah, with a
smart
tie and a...
Yeah, that's kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
What in the workplace? What are the biggest mistakes people make? Do you think, specifically in terms of their image, which includes dress and grooming and everything?
Yeah. I would say one big one is exactly this, what we talked about,
Okay.
not having your image aligned with your role.
Okay.
Because you send mixed signals and you cannot be taken seriously. You can be either overdressed or underdressed.
Right.
So you're either over signaling or under signaling, right? The second one, and that's probably the most common, is fit and grooming. Fit is something that makes even the cheapest suit, let's say, make you look competent and confident, and because it's tailored to your body and it's like it's made for you. And most recently, a third one, if I'm to say three, overly casual video calls. So people tend, when they're in the office, they tend to dress smarter. But when they move in the Friday work from home or whatever the day of the week is, they tend to get into a more relaxed mode and they dress overly casual, even if they have obviously the same CEO position, let's say, or a senior position, and they dress differently in the office. And this is also misleading.
So it goes too far in casual direction.
So there are some people who are sharp in the office and very casual in the work from home mode in the video calls. So that can be confusing, misleading, and sending different messages. I mean, obviously it depends on the context and the topic they have in that video call and the whole background. But if we assume it's a serious conversation, then they need to make sure their upper body and background makes sense and it's aligned.
No, that makes sense. All right, then. So there's an interesting paradox here, I think. Dubai is a fast-moving business hub. We've got people from loads of different cultural backgrounds who maybe dress in different ways. There are national dress aspects, of course, right? So how do you bridge the gap between the kind of cultural expression side and corporate uniformity, wearing the right thing in the workplace? It's a tough one because there are people from, from across the Middle East, people from Africa, people from China. There's all kinds of people around.
What I would advise people to do is just go safe.
Okay.
I mean, you cannot go wrong with clean lines, a bit of a structure, neutral colors, because formality in the workplace is read differently depending on who you are, the role you have, where you come from, even the sector, the industry. So be dressed in a smart way. Be harmonious in your outfit. You can also infuse a touch of your personal preferences, obviously, but nothing too loud and not a lot of them, like a watch or, maybe you have a signature accessory like a square pocket. Maybe that's your signature. Or a different, I have clients who change their their watch bracelet in different colors or different fabrics. Depending on what they wear. So you can add a touch. I actually would suggest to add a touch of your personality because your personality should enter the room first, let's say, not the suit.
Yeah, okay. So people know who you are. All right, then.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly power dressing or power styling, but to get this right is an asset for your career, right? There's certainly some truth in that. So that's making a comeback. So is that sort of pandemic era or, the tech bro look, wearing a hoodie, that doesn't cut it. That's not the way we should be going.
If you're thinking younger professionals.
Well, I'm thinking of the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, those guys, the Sam Altmans of the world who are, running billion-dollar corporations, but they're wearing a black hoodie to work. I mean,
or if we're talking Mark Zuckerberg, he has this gray or navy T-shirt and the dark jeans. that's also a way to dress. It can become your uniform. I mean, to me, there's nothing right or wrong. It's just today it matters more than ever to align your image and your presence with what you're trying to achieve. Because you cannot be credible today when many people fight, let's say, or are after the same role or opportunity, which is, let's say, a senior role in a big corporation. If you're going dressed like you're going on a summer vacation or a staycation, right? So it needs to be a bit of an alignment and a bit of intention and a bit of an effort.
Okay, so you mentioned summer there. One of the things is the physical reality here in the UAE. Wearing a sharp blazer or a suit or tailored clothes is fine, but when it's 45 degrees outside, it's a bit more difficult. How do you maintain that kind of executive look without melting in the summer in the UAE?
I know, that's tough. We
That's a
feel
tough
this
one,
every
isn't it?
day. It's
Yeah, it's a
July,
hard one.
right? I'm thinking, in reality, in July and August, we don't dress for the outside. We actually dress for the inside. And we also dress for the trip from the parking to the lobby, right? Wherever we go. So saying that, you would think inside, I mean, ideally, you would get to an inside place at some point. Nowadays, it's like 16, 18 degrees, right?
In lots
AC,
of offices,
indoor,
yeah, you're right, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you can layer, you can, driving to the office, let's say don't wear the outer layer, the jacket, the cardigan, or the blazer, but keep it next to you in the car and then put it on when you get in. Another thing that my clients do is they started wearing these undershirt t-shirts.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like a lot of layers, but having a good cotton fabric under the actual shirt, it takes in the sweat, so it's not coming out. So going indoor into, I don't know, a big meeting or an interview, you don't look like all sweaty
out.
and yes. And also factor in 5 minutes before you arrive anywhere to have time to cool down and be presentable. But in general, we should wear like breathable fabrics.
Yeah.
And I know 100% cotton on a label sounds amazing and good quality. 100% linen, especially in the summer, because we know linen is a very breathable fabric.
Sure.
But linen gets wrinkled really easily if you put your seatbelt in the car. By the time you arrive, everything is doesn't look nice. So look for linen blends, like cotton linen and cotton and silk, because they give this better looking after wearing them
Do you know what it is?
for a while, right?
Yeah, it's the thought that we should be putting in, which I think is lacking with lots of people. It's thinking through how to be more professional, and the act of thinking it through is a professional attitude, isn't it? A simple thing like ironing your clothing is another thing, rather than turning up with a wrinkled linen shirt on.
Yeah, sorry, I assumed we're doing that already.
No, I know exactly, but you see it so often, don't you? But it's the act of getting yourself together to present yourself professionally. That's kind of at the heart of all of this. Yeah. Let me just ask you a little bit about hybrid work, because that's kind of changed the way we're working, right? So we're in and out, and it might be that you have a meeting and then you're home for the afternoon, and you have to go back for another meeting, and you have to change. That's changed office fashion in lots of ways, hasn't it? It's certainly changed our approach to what we wear.
Totally. And I can give my example to you today. So
Sure.
I have another 3 meetings after this.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, what's my role in this, in today, in
Yeah,
all these
yeah,
meetings?
yeah.
How do I need to come across? What's my audience? What am I trying to? What's the result, the outcome that I'm gonna take from each of these meetings?
Yeah.
So it's sort of a, what role do I have today? What's my audience, and what's the result I'm after?
Mm.
So thinking throughout the day, I'm putting, and also thinking all the logistics. I'm driving, I'm walking, how long it takes from a place to another, and so on. Who am I meeting? You can think of that rather than looking in the mirror and asking yourself, do I look good enough to leave the house? That's also a good question, but more strategic one would be, what's going to be my role today and what am I trying to achieve? So I'm putting an outfit that would take me through the day in a way that's not very consuming, that's also comfortable to me. I don't need to change too much if I don't have time.
So will you
And-
not change today for your meetings? You've got, with us now, you've got 3 meetings to come. You won't change from what you're wearing at the moment. So it was very calculated what you're wearing. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and comfortable. And also I'm thinking I'm going to be sitting or standing, like what's the part of me what's the visual cues,
Okay.
that I'm going to
yeah.
send. I'm standing, I'm sitting, I'm walking, depending on what am I going to do.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to practice, but it's not that hard, because you know who you're gonna meet, you know your role in those meetings. Probably in some of them you're not in the spotlight, so you can dress down in your lower body or have flats rather than heels, or
Yeah, okay.
clean sneakers rather than dressy shoes for men.
Yeah.
And also if they're online or in person. And I just remembered, in virtual calls, I recently read this study about what type of background would read as more competent and would make you look more confident and as an expert. And it turned out that plants and books
Really?
in a Zoom call, yes.
Yeah,
So plants
yeah.
and books were scored the highest. And those, new creative virtual backgrounds, like innovative and by the beach or in a, they were scored the lowest.
They're a real turn-off, I think. I don't like those.
I mean, they're nice, but if they don't match with your role and what you're going to say, they don't make any sense. You're just covering your real
Yeah, true.
real room. But
No,
apparently plants and books.
But that's important, isn't it? It's funny. I was watching a news piece about a month ago, and they talked to a politician. This is a UK politician, and she came on, and the way the camera was positioned, you could see the whole of like the room behind her, and it was a complete mess. It was boxes everywhere, and old receipts, and half-eaten meals. I mean, it was a real nightmare. And my impression, I just thought, what the overriding thing was, I was taking this person less seriously now.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's what you don't want to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I'm over time. So I wanted to ask you one more thing, and I've got loads of questions. Here you go. If you have a closet full of clothes, right, bought during the work from home time, a kind of hangover from the COVID era, and you're now going back, the comfortable clothes, the familiar clothes, the soft stuff that you really like.
The pajamas.
Exactly, yeah. Don't wear those to work. Unless it's a thing. What should you do to change your professional image? If you still rely on that those kinds of articles of clothing?
So if you inherited this like softer style, flowy, less structured,
It kind of changed the way you
from
dress.
the work from home
What do you need to do
era,
now?
and now you're moving back to the office.
Exactly.
Depending on the items you actually have, but I wouldn't say you necessarily need to buy more clothes or do like a whole wardrobe overhaul. But then make sure you pick the ones that have a bit of a structure, that are more neutral colors, let's say, because I'm thinking you would need more authority and a higher level of confidence going back into the office. So these would be the types of items that would make you look and feel that way. Clean lines, neutral colors, structure, fix your grooming, get some of the pieces altered, so go to a tailor. I think this would be a good start.
Okay.
Obviously, depending on...
It depends on lots of things.
Yeah,
I kind of
lots of
put you on the
things.
spot a little bit, but
but it's... If you want to send signals of confidence, authority, I'm ready to do things, I'm back in business type of perception, if you're building on that, then try to think harmony and alignment with the role that you have.
And if you do that, that's a professional attitude, isn't it? You're thinking it through. This is purpose.
Yeah, it looks you have intention. It looks that you put in the effort. You understand the room you're walking in, the office you're walking in, the industry, the expectations that people have from you. And it also puts you into a different state of mind, and it signals to your brain now it's work mode.
Okay.
Rather than
So it clicks
a
you back
home.
into kind of work gear as well.
Yeah.
That's another side of it. There's loads more we could talk about, Raluca, but that's all the time we've got today. So clothing is a tool for non-verbal communication. And if it's tough, competitive like it is at the moment, it's better to rethink it, I think. Raluca Marcu is an image scientist. Appreciate you coming to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. In case you missed it, can the UAE's homegrown ingredients become the next global food success story? From camel milk and dates to a growing demand for locally made products, the country is embracing innovation, sustainability, and food security to shape the future of its food security. I speak with Rashid Gargash, founder of Rations, and Hesham Yahya Abd El Hakim, who's the acting CEO of Camelicious, about why regional ingredients are moving into the mainstream, what's driving investment in local manufacturing, and whether the UAE can build globally competitive food brands. Catch this conversation across Mira Business FM platforms.
Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the fine print on Mira Business FM. Your job, your salary, your rights. Part 1, layoffs, late salaries, structuring, restructuring, growing uncertainty. Businesses are navigating a challenging economic environment. Lots of employees are asking about the rights that they have under the UAE labour law. So we're going to try to answer the most common questions that we have been receiving. Joining us for the fine print once again is Raymond Kiswani. He's a partner at Davidson & Co. Hopefully, Raymond, we can separate the fact from the fiction, explain what everybody needs to know. Good to see you.
Good to see you here.
Good to have you in. So welcome back to the fine print. We often hear from people whose companies are experiencing cash flow issues, leading to delayed salaries or maybe irregular payments. The new law says salaries have to be paid by the first of the month. It's been the last couple of months, introduced here in the UAE. Let me start with this. At what point does a late salary officially become a breach of the labour law?
So the position became significantly stricter as of the 1st of June of this year. Yeah. Under the new resolution, salary for the previous month, and by month I have to be clear that we're talking about the Gregorian calendar now. We're no longer. That is due no later than the first day of the following month. If it arrives after the first, it's considered delayed right there and then. There's no grace period. Okay. So the old idea that an employer effectively had another 15 days or so before lateness became an issue, that's no longer the correct legal standard. There's also a difference between the employee's right and the regulator's enforcement timetable. Because again, everything now has to be paid through the wage protection system, the WPS. Yep. So Mohair effectively gets warnings right away when that salary isn't going through to employees as of the first of the month. So Mohair can begin electronic warnings from the second day. They have the authority to suspend new work permits from the 5th day, and they can escalate it further if things go beyond those days. So a salary that is 5 days late is not within an allowed grace period. It's already late from day 2, effectively. So long as a salary has not been paid on the first of the month, then it's considered late. Obviously, when we're talking about this, we're talking about places that aren't DIFC or ADGM, because those are a completely different system. Yeah.
Okay. So there is no official grace period under the labour law. I mean, there kind of wasn't in the past, but there kind of was, I guess. It was in the grey area, but that's not the case.
No, exactly. As of the first, everything that is a salary has to be paid through the WPS system.
Right.
And it has to be paid on the first or earlier. So obviously make it so that you're paying it earlier, just in case there's any issues with banks or electronic issues or whatever it is.
And then maybe holiday.
Exactly.
Days,
because it doesn't matter if the first of the month falls on a weekend or a public holiday or anything like that, or if there's any bank issues.
Right.
So make sure that you yourself build in that grace period. Don't rely on the first of the month, because if it's not paid by the first of the month, it's late.
Okay. Mohair, by the way, Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization, so they're watching and alerts can ensue. If a company says it's facing cash flow problems, can it legally delay paying employees, or is there any kind of special dispensation available?
The short answer is no. Cash flow difficulty for a company is usually explains why an employer is late in paying salary.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make the delay lawful. Salary is a core, not just a contractual obligation, but it's a statutory obligation. Right? Okay. So it's not something that the company can postpone until its customers pay or financing arrives or some loan is paid, etc. If a business is genuinely struggling financially to be able to pay those salaries, it needs to obtain that funding. It needs to reduce other expenditures. It needs to discuss some sort of measure to be able to make those salary payments, because those are non-negotiable payments.
Right.
Because effectively, if a company is, if we take a step back, if a company is saying, I'm having cash flow problems, so I'm not going to pay salaries on time, I'm going to need to delay them by a few weeks, or effectively, they're almost using those salaries as a bridge loan. Right?
Yeah, no, I can follow that logic. Yeah.
So instead of using your employees' salary as a bridge loan and forcing them to have to come up with something, because their obligations aren't going to go away, their obligations for rent or food and tuition or whatever it is aren't going to go away, just like yours. You should be getting that bridge loan as a business.
Yeah.
Don't use your employees' salary as a bridge loan.
Don't make your problems mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a you problem.
Well, it is. I mean, if an employee hasn't been paid for a length of time, I don't know, a couple of months, let's say, there's kind of a belief around, lots of people would say this, oh, this is how it is, and I'm not sure. So I'll ask you, it's as though you can legally walk away or stop working without penalty if you've not been paid. I think people always quote 60 days. Now, what does the law actually say if you've not been paid for a specific period of time? Or is there some kind of time period that is that a thing?
Well, I mean, what I would say is if it's gotten to, if the salary has been repeatedly late, or it simply hasn't been paid at all for a prolonged period of time, and you're not getting that salary.
Right.
Either on time or you're not getting it at all, I would document it in writing first. As soon as it's late, the first time around, document it to HR, to payroll, to your employer, and say, what is the reason for this? Get something in writing,
right?
An assurance of when it's going to be paid. I think that most of us as humans can understand if it's a one-off thing, if it's delayed by a day or something like that. But if it's a repeated problem, or you're not getting paid at all, again, remember that each payment after the first of the month is a delay payment and is effectively against the new regulations. So the employee doesn't have to wait for a particular number of late months before the issue becomes real. So again, keep your bank records, your pay slips, WPS information, document those messages from payroll as to what's happening, raising the issue. If you are a mainland employee, you can raise a mohair confidential complaint without any fee attached to it, and not effectively putting your name on it, because mohair should be getting those warnings that payment hasn't been made to employees. But you can raise a confidential one, or you can file a more formal labor complaint if it becomes a significant problem and it is prolonged. If the repeated non-payment becomes serious enough that you are considering leaving without notice, you shouldn't just simply walk away and disappear into the night, because then you're effectively making yourself a problem rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
Article 45 of the labor law contains a very specific mohair notification and a cure process for leaving because the employer has breached the obligation of paying your salary. So follow that process with the advice from mohair after you've filed that complaint with them and having them deal with it. So the short answer is, don't just, I've not been paid for 30 days, 60 days, whatever amount it is. I'm not getting clear answers from my employer. I know that other employees have had problems. Follow that official mohair guidance, and you'll be in a significantly better situation to get your money and not be effectively the one that left without notice, abandoned your post.
Okay. So at the moment, lots of businesses are restructuring to cut costs. Employees are being told, I've heard this anecdotally, take a 20% pay cut or your job, you're not going to have a job here. Can an employer legally slash salaries unilaterally without explicit written consent of an employee?
can they effectively reduce?
Yeah. Is there any circumstance? I mean, without written consent, can they do that? Can you do that in any way?
Well, I mean, no, you can't. Your salary is based on a contractual agreement between the employee and the employer. You've agreed to that. You've signed an agreement that is for a year, 2 years, whatever it may be.
And that is then registered at Mohre.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Right. So if at some point before that contract is up, you're being asked to take a reduction in pay,
Right.
that has to be a mutual agreement. So the general rule is no. An employer can't force you to take a reduction. Right? A contractual salary cannot simply be reduced by kind of a managerial announcement because turnover has fallen or business isn't good or whatever it may be. A temporary or a permanent reduction should be freely agreed to by both the employee and the employer. It needs to be put into writing and effectively reflected through a new, properly Mohair registered agreement. Now, I mean, there's a separate question if we're talking about discretionary bonuses or commissions or those kind of things. But if we're talking about strictly about your base salary, your actual contractual salary that is paid through the WPS system, that is only by mutual agreement. Now, that doesn't necessarily stop the employer from being able to terminate, but they have to obviously do it through the correct system of giving you notice under the contract. They can terminate you effectively and have you no longer working there, but they still have to pay you that notice period, usually between 30 to 90 days,
Right.
plus end of service, plus whatever other entitlements that you have. So that's the general rule, is if there is a reduction that is being contemplated, it has to be agreed by both parties.
Okay. So if an employer, if the process has gone through, an employer changes an employee's job description or cuts salary significant, but it's to force them into a position where they quit, for example, does UAE law recognize the concept, constructive dismissal, where an employee can claim arbitrary or unfair termination?
Well, so I mean, all those kind of fall into breaches of the contractual agreement for the job, right?
Okay.
If you fundamentally change the person's job description, if the employer unilaterally reduces payment, that's already an illegal effect, and you can find yourself with a Mohair complaint against it, right? Again, I mean, if you're being forced to resign instead of being terminated, I would kind of stick to your guns and put things into writing, because if you are facing reductions in your salary, that's already illegal, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
If you're facing job description being fundamentally changed from what it was to being asked to do new things or more things, and those are fundamentally changing, then that all gives rise for a Mohair complaint. I would be quite careful if you do want to take the step of leaving the position. Make sure that you have things in writing. Make sure that you are not signing that you've been paid all your end of service entitlements and your notice periods and all those sort of things without actually being paid all those things. But yeah, I mean, it's there is this often a balance where things will become so difficult that you feel like you don't have a choice other than to leave. But if you are going to leave, make sure that you have your ducks in a row in terms of your end of service, your termination, your notice period. All of those things are there.
Yeah. Okay. So, and it's specifically, if you want to amend anything, the contract has to change, has to be re-registered, it has to go through the process. And that applies even when we've got things like the geopolitical situation, that doesn't affect things. It is still the same process, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure that you guys have heard it just as much as I have. Where and there is obviously a legitimate issue here where some companies, because of what is happening in the region, are facing certain issues. So if they're
Sure.
In tourism or in aviation or what have you, I mean, there is kind of that geopolitical issue there. But generally speaking, I mean, that in and of itself doesn't give rise to be able to withhold salaries or to cut salaries or to change job descriptions, etc. I mean, there are things that employers can do. For example, they can't force unpaid leave, but they can kind of, if, for example, you have a business that is more seasonal, and we happen to be in the summer, it's a bit slow.
Yeah.
You can kind of steer employees to take their paid annual leave during this time, but you can't force them to take unpaid leave.
No, but
Right?
saying to somebody, look,
Yeah.
could you take your leave now because it's hard for us?
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
that seems reasonable.
Exactly. Like, let's say that you're
the give and
working
take.
for a resort. It's significantly slower now that we're in the end of July than it will be, for example, in January. So, if you have that accrued leave period, take it now because we're a bit slow rather than you sitting around. But that's paid leave.
Yeah.
You can't force
Yeah.
somebody to take unpaid leave.
Okay. If an employee is asked to resign instead of being terminated,
Yeah.
what happens then? How that's a
So
grey area.
I would certainly say don't agree to it automatically. What is usually happening here, and I don't mean to make it out that all employers are acting this way, but if the employer has decided they want to end the relationship, they're effectively kind of trying to have it both ways. They're trying to end the relationship with the employee, but they're trying to make it the employee that is ending the relationship, right? The accurate way that an employer that wants to terminate an employee is that you have to give them a termination letter,
Right.
either physically, by email, what have you. And you would be obviously giving them their notice period. You can have them work their notice period, or you have to pay them in lieu of that notice period, end of service entitlements, etc. Asking the employee to resign kind of transfers all of that decision from the employer to the employee, right? And it can affect notice obligations. It can certainly affect your negotiation leverage, and very importantly, how you would be eligible for unemployment insurance now. Right.
Okay.
So
Right.
the employee should ask why resignation is being requested. What's the final date will be, and what they'll be paid. Resignation can be sensible if it's genuinely voluntary by the employee, and it forms part of the kind of the overall package. But if there isn't, if the employer just wants to end the relationship, but they don't want to do it themselves, that's a really wrong way of going about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at layoffs and terminations and end of service rights then, kind of step by step. When a company implements mass layoffs due to economic pressure, whatever the reason is, what are the standard rules regarding notice periods? And can an employer ask staff to leave immediately while paying sort of in lieu of notice?
Well, I mean, whether you're laying one person off or a bunch of people off at the same time, it's still effectively the same requirements.
Right.
If the employer is doing that, there's a required notice period that is within the contract, which is typically between 30 to 90 days.
Right.
Right. So the employer has to say when the termination decision has been given, when the final date is, based on that. The employer can have that staff work their notice period, still earning their allowed salary, or they can pay them in lieu if they don't want them to work that.
Yeah.
You know, you can have the employee leave immediately that day, but you have to pay them that 30 to 90 days, whatever it may be. And obviously, whatever their end of service entitlements are, whatever commissions are out due, whatever accrued holiday there is, etc., like that. So whether you're effectively terminating one person or 10 people at the same time, you still have to follow the same rules.
Okay. There's often confusion about how gratuity, end of service benefits are calculated during a termination, right? So with the recent updates in mind, what should a terminated employee look closely at on the final settlement sheet? Very often that's what will happen, to ensure that, you're not being shortchanged. I mean, what compensation should employees expect if they're made redundant?
Yeah, so I mean, end of service is a very complicated system. It depends on how long you've been working with the company. And then there's a calculation based on X amount of days, and the important part is that the end of service gratuity is accrued based on your base salary, so it doesn't affect anything that is housing allowance, educational allowance, any of the commissions, bonuses, etc. It's just that core base salary.
Yeah.
And it will depend on how long you have been there. So what you should definitely do is ask your HR or a payroll to give you some sort of Excel spreadsheet or what have you on how they came up with that calculation.
Yeah. And
then there are loads of things online in terms of being able to plot in your numbers and double check that is the correct amount. Trying to sit there with a calculator is not going to work. There are multiple systems online as to how you can check that number, but I would certainly get it in writing as to how they came up with that number, and then sort of double check it yourself.
Okay. If someone's laid off under the guise of restructuring, whatever reason might be used, but if you suspect it's unfair or perhaps targeted in some way, what's the legal recourse to challenge it through the MOHRE, the Ministry of Human Resources and Rehabilitation?
Yeah, so it depends on the reason for termination. If there is any suspicion that you have that it was discrimination, or if it was retaliatory in some respect, or anything of those, you can file a formal complaint through MOHRE that will investigate. But what I would say, practically speaking, is it is very difficult to challenge something if you don't have evidence. So what is if, for example, you're being given the reason for termination is that it's bad performance, well, make sure that you have all of your records on the last 2 years that you've been working there and your performance reviews and how you've been a star employee, right? Because then that doesn't add up. If you believe it's retaliatory, then have the complaint that you raised internally, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later you're being laid off, right? So have that key evidence, because it's not just what you believe; it is what you can prove.
Okay, I've got loads of questions that keep popping into my mind, but it's something I've heard a few times is annual leave requests being rejected because a company is short-staffed. Is that could somebody turn around and say, look, not enough people, you can't have the annual leave that you got, you have to hang around?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, I mean, you can have a situation again, just like we were discussing, if the timing that you are putting for your annual leave kind of falls into a really busy period for the business.
Sure.
You can be asked to sort of change it around. Or if all of a sudden, if it's a small company and they have 10 employees and 5 of them want the same dates off, right? It's going to be challenging in that sense. So the correct way is, put in your dates early, and make sure that you have alternative dates that you can take. If it's a really important time for you that you do need to have off, make sure that you've put that in well in advance, and you you can have that. But yeah, generally speaking, I mean, you can't be constantly denied annual leave at all times.
Right.
But you have to sort of play it also with the employer in terms of business requirements, other people's leave, et cetera, et cetera.
We're back to our give and take situation, aren't we? Yeah, but in theory, okay. If someone's terminated while they're on leave, on annual leave, or maybe on sick leave, is that legal?
So being on annual leave is not kind of a shield against being terminated during your leave period. An employer may communicate a termination decision while you are on annual leave, for example, by sending you that termination letter via email while you're on leave. But the leave days that you're on cannot ordinarily be used to run down the notice period. Right? So the notice period has to start on your next working day. Unless obviously there is a mutual agreement between the employer and the employee that's fine. Sick leave is a different situation. It does provide sort of additional protection, if you will. An employer can't terminate someone because they are medically unfit before they have used up their statutory leave that's available to them. That doesn't necessarily prevent termination for a separate, genuine reason, or a dismissal for kind of serious statutory misconduct grounds. But the timing, the stated reason, and the evidence would be very critical in that situation. So, the employee needs to kind of comply with all the medical certificate and the notification requirements of being on sick leave, obviously. But yeah, generally, you can't sort of do an ordinary termination during sick leave.
Okay. Final question in this segment for now. What should you do if you're an employee and you're worried that maybe your company is facing, financial difficulties? You can see the way things are going, I suppose. What should you be doing now as an employee, do you think?
I mean, this is significantly a more practical question than a legal question, honestly. And,
it kind of is, yeah.
And I think what would be best is if you're starting to read the room that there is financial trouble and things aren't going well.
Yeah.
I would prepare quietly and factually. Keep lawful copies of your employment contract, your offer letter, any amendments, pay slips, bank credits. Keep an eye on keeping track of your commission and bonus records if you're entitled to any, your expense claims, all of your appraisals, your performance records that you have. And one really key thing is confirm your subscription to unemployment insurance, because you can't sort of backtrack it if you haven't, right? Yeah. Make sure to ask kind of calm questions on if your salary or your benefits are delayed. Make sure to have those in writing. Continue performing your role. Continue performing your work. Follow attendance rules. Keep all of that. Receive any proper legal advice if you're feeling uneasy, and really don't give the employer a misconduct argument. Don't start, showing up to work late or not showing up at all or anything like that. Make sure obviously you have your CV in place, your visa and your health insurance are in place. Make sure you're not removing any confidential information from the company. And start looking for somewhere else in the meantime, but kind of keeping things on track in your current position.
Sound advice. That's part one of Your Job, Your Salary, Your Rights. Just for the moment, Raymond Kaswani is a partner at the legal firm Davidson & Co. Next, we're going to be answering your questions live here on Mira Business FM. So, legal matters once again. This is another edition of the Fine Print. We've been talking about layoffs. We've been talking about late salaries, restructuring, growing uncertainty. And considering questions about work, salaries, and your right as an employee. To answer some of our listener questions, Raymond Kiswani is still with me. It's been particularly tough over the last few months. So these questions come from listeners or viewers. Word of warning, some of the handles are quite amusing. You're going to like some of them, I can assure you, Raymond. First of all, fairly standard. Maria in Dubai. My salary was paid 5 days late this month. Should I be worried, or is that allowed?
Yeah. So, I mean, as we kind of talked, there isn't a grace period anymore.
Yeah.
1 day late is already late. And that's as of the 1st of June, where the new resolutions came through. So any payment after the first day of the month is treated as being delayed. By the 5th day, even if no employee has taken any action, Mohair may already start suspending work permits for that employer and take additional actions themselves as enforcement, even with no complaint.
It doesn't affect your work permit, by the way, does it?
No, it's
the employer's.
It's if the employer is trying to get new work permits.
Yeah. Okay.
That stuff will be frozen.
Right.
So, I mean, look, one late payment doesn't necessarily mean that the entire company is collapsing and they're in default. There could be a genuine payroll error or a banking error or some sort of electronic glitch that has occurred. So I think what would be a good thing to do is to ask payroll or your accounts department what the reason is in writing. Keep a record of your bank records showing when exactly the money arrives. Make sure that it's the complete amount that arrives. If it's a one-off thing, I think we're all fairly understandable people. But if it happens again and it begins to happen more regularly, or if part of the salary is missing, or if the company doesn't give any answer, then you can certainly use the Mohair Confidential service of raising a complaint, and obviously escalate it to a formal complaint if no salary is coming, or your salary is missing a portion of it and there isn't any credible answer from there. Obviously, the answer is different if it's DIFC or ADGM. There is a separate regime, but there is the authority there that you can also raise a complaint to them.
Okay. And you have the right to go and raise a complaint or ask the question.
100%.
Yeah, quite right. Anonymous here, no name on this one. My employer says business has slowed because of global events. Salaries might be delayed. I mean, similar question with an extension of it. Just very simply asking, is it legal to delay salaries?
No, again, I mean, it's a bit like what we were saying before. I mean, legally speaking, there is no acceptable response as to why salary is delayed. You as an employer should build in your own grace period to ensure that salaries are in the your employee's bank by the 1st of the month, right? So build in, if you know that your bank is a bit slow, build in those extra 3-4 days, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Because again, that 1st of the month could be a Saturday, could be a public holiday. So the answer is no. And you really, again, can't use your employees' salaries as some sort of bridge loan.
Yeah.
To stabilize the company. So the answer is no, they can't. If there is some sort of announcement that is made like that, certainly if it's in writing, keep a record of it. If it's verbally said, put it in writing back to the employer, saying it's just been announced, et cetera, explain to us what this is. So then you have a written record for if that salary is delayed or missing or what have you, that you can be able to raise those complaints. Now, again, it's a bit different for things that are more discretionary. If we're talking about discretionary bonuses or commissions or any of those kind of things, that is kind of falls somewhat differently. It becomes a more contractual issue. But if we are talking about strictly your salary, then there's no wiggle room around that.
Priya is asking, my company wants everyone to take unpaid leave during August. Can they require us to do that? I'm shaking my head here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference between unpaid leave and paid leave. The unpaid leave has to be mutually agreed between the employee and the employer. It can't simply be imposed just because August is quiet. There are many businesses that happen to be seasonal. Again, just like we were sort of saying, I mean, most resorts are significantly quieter in August than they will be in November or December, right?
Yeah.
So proposing unpaid leave kind of unilaterally is not going to be accepted. An employer can organize the timing of annual paid leave around those kind of operational needs, with required process and notice. And that is very different from stopping everyone's pay and requiring them to take some sort of unpaid sabbatical.
Yeah.
But if an employer wants you to take paid leave because business is slow or what have you, then that's a significantly different question.
Okay. First of, I think the amusing names coming in here. James the Man, 1988.
Good year.
I like it. There are rumors of layoffs in my company. Does my employer have to give advance notice?
Well, I mean, if the employer is terminating James the Man, the normal contractual notice must be in writing. It must be between the 30 to 90 days that is a contractual period there. Sure. The employer can ask him to stop work immediately, but it would have to ordinarily pay the entirety of that unworked notice period plus any accrued leave, anything like that. So the law doesn't generally require an employer to announce possible redundancies weeks before it's made the decision, or kind of conduct some sort of consolidation or anything like that. Once the termination decision is made, notice period and payment rules apply. Issuing the letter, don't backdate the letter, as I've known to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because there are some times where a general announcement will be made, and then the termination letter doesn't come for like 2 weeks later, but it's backdated to the date of the announcement.
Right.
So that's a no-no.
Yeah.
The termination letter is the date.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
Okay. Cheese lover forever.
Ooh.
My favorite one. My manager.
Who doesn't love cheese?
Oh, I don't trust people that don't like cheese. No, I'm with you. My manager's asked me to resign. Instead of being terminated, what should I do?
Well, I mean, unless you want to resign, I would say no. Don't send a resignation letter simply because somebody asks you to. Right. Ask for the proposal in writing. Who is ending the relationship and why? If the employer genuinely wants you to resign, then there's a word for that. It means they want you to be terminated. They want you to leave. So they can do the termination. Because again, a resignation can affect your unemployment insurance eligibility. It can weaken any disputes that you have down the line. So make sure that if you are being asked to leave, document that. And I would say, unless there's a very good reason as to why, have the employer do the termination themselves, because then you'd be able to get your end of service, your notice period, and your insurance entitlements.
Okay. Daniel, no word if Daniel enjoys cheese, but I'm sure he does. If I'm made redundant, asked Daniel, what am I legally entitled to receive before I leave?
So there's a bunch of things there. I would say there's obviously the salary and any fixed contractual benefits that you have through the termination date. Your notice that you've worked or payment in lieu of that, any unused annual leave that's would have to be paid out. Any earned commission, any earned bonus, any reimbursable expenses, end of service gratuity, or any sort of savings scheme balance if you're eligible. And there's also any repatriation if that's required. Those kind of final dues have to be paid out within 14 days from when the employment ends. Obviously, the employer should give you those calculations early, and you should ask for those calculations to make sure that they are correct. If there's any disputes around those, make sure that you raise them. And importantly, don't sign that you've received payment. I've seen this happen many, many times. You'll get loads of papers pushed on you to sign,
Right.
saying you've been given everything, you haven't received everything, but you haven't even seen what the payment looks like. So yeah, those are the key things that I would look for.
Okay. La La Land fan. I told you. Can my employer cut my salary because the business is making less money?
No, again, I mean, no. Unilaterally, you can't really use lower revenue or no revenue or business is slow or whatever it may be to kind of rewrite what the fixed salary is. You can't use an employee's salary as your bridge loan, as your thing. So a reduction that is mutually agreed needs to be genuinely agreed between everybody. It needs to be documented, processed, and a new contractual amendment needs to be there, and reissuing that to Mohair. If we're talking about a genuine discretionary bonus reduction, again, I mean, the contract and the scheme wording matters here. But if the amount is paid as part of a fixed contract salary, then the employer can't simply rename it after the fact.
Okay. Ryan asked this. At what point should I file a complaint? Because my company keeps paying salaries late every month.
Yeah, if it's happening repeatedly, I mean, you can certainly act right away. There's no rule requiring him to tolerate X amount of late payments or no payments before he files a complaint. Again, under the new regime, every payment after the first day of the month is delayed and gives rise to a complaint by the employee. So a repeated pattern is a significant reason to create that formal record. He can submit the confidential complaint to Mohair, where he doesn't have to disclose his identity or anything like that, just the employer, and they can take action themselves. And obviously, I would keep record of your bank statements showing when those payments are coming in or if they're not coming in at all.
Okay. Katrina, can I be dismissed while I'm on annual leave overseas?
Well, a termination notice can be communicated while she is away. So her being overseas or being on holiday doesn't automatically invalidate the decision. But the employer can't use the dates that she's on leave, on official leave, as part of the notice period. So the notice period would start on her formal date of return. Right. Unless obviously there is some sort of mutual agreement between Katrina and her employer.
Okay. Final question that's come in. There's a mix of questions, I think, from Insta and LinkedIn, etc., YouTube. What documents, you've been at pains to talk about this a lot, but document everything, get everything in writing, but what particular documents should every employee keep in case they suddenly lose their job?
Yeah, you should always have those personal copies of your signed employment contract, your job offer, every amendment that's been done, especially for employees that have been with a company for a few years. If there's every time that they're signing the new agreement, keep a copy of that. Keep track of your bank statements showing when payments are coming in or if they're not on time. Your annual leave statements. What else? I would keep track of things like expense claims, your performance reviews, any warnings that you've received. If you've been having kind of a string of medical issues, keep those medical certificates in place. And obviously, if there's any correspondence relating to resignation or termination, keep a record of that. Even if things are going really well and it's all very mutual, keep a record of it somewhere on your computer, on your drive, because you just don't know if, there's going to be an allegation at some point or an issue that comes up at some point, you have that access there and then.
Okay. That was Lady from Manhattan, by the way,
Oh,
that
right.
question, which I quite liked.
Like Manhattan.
Can I ask you just a few questions?
Yeah.
I know you bill by the minute. Are you billing by the minute at the moment?
I wish.
don't quite know. A few points, a few pieces of kind of actionable advice, really, practical steps. So we've really talked about the paper trail. I'll leave that, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about mediation. When disputes arise over unpaid wages or termination or whatever, how efficient is the MOHRE, the Ministry of Human Resources and Administration, resolution process? And at what point do you get to a point where you need legal counsel? Like, I'm going to call Raymond Davidson and Co.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I think it depends on the issue between the employer and the employee. Don't quote me on this, but I believe something like 97%, 98% of all complaints are resolved within mohair through the mediated process. Because again, if things aren't resolved at the mohair level, it can escalate to the courts, where it becomes kind of a more formal kind of legal litigation action. So, 97, 98% is a significant amount of those. I believe that the majority of them revolve around either late payments, partial payments, or non-payments of salary, and those get resolved fairly quickly, right? Again, when does legal action need to be taken? It's from an employee's point of view, I would say if there is a more complex situation that is giving rise or going to give rise. Things around unilateral reductions, if there is a circumvention of trying to readdress wage salary, making it more discretionary bonus style. You often get that in very kind of commission-based employment. So, yeah, I would say certainly the mohair mediation process is very successful. But again, it only thrives in terms of how either side, employer or employee, can address things through evidence. That's the only way that we can adjudicate things. So more complex matters, I would say, it would give rise to legal advice.
Okay. Final question for you. I know I've taken up loads of your time today. I appreciate you spending time going through this. If you got one piece of advice to employers, for employers trying to navigate, it's tough times. This is a hard cycle that we're in, obviously. Piece of advice that they can use to navigate it lawfully, and also a piece of advice, I think, for employees who might be, feeling a bit more vulnerable at the moment.
Yeah, I think that there's a few things that that employers can do. I would say a huge chunk is make sure that they are compliant through their payroll. I kind of addressed it a bit, but if the salary is reaching employees later than the first of the month, then it's already late. So, and again, that can include a weekend or a public holiday. So, keep your WPS records on point. Make sure that you yourself build in a grace period for when salaries get paid so that they're not reaching the first of the month. That's a huge thing. I would definitely make sure that you keep track of contracts with employees, notice periods, leave balances, any kind of variable pay schemes. Make sure that you have a final settlement template so that when an employee is leaving, you have a kind of a payout template to make sure that they are getting paid what they should be getting paid and getting it paid on time. Don't impose kind of unilateral salary cuts or unpaid leave, or anything like that. If restructuring to your business is necessary, document the commercial rationale for it, the objective that you're trying to do, and I would say, make sure that any of those final entitlements are paid within 14 days from there, because effectively it's probably better if you're being transparent with your employees if you are facing those kind of financial pressures, to sort of say, this is a situation. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to terminate you, but I'm going to do it in the right way, rather than trying to use their salary as a bridge loan or force them to take unpaid leave or any of those kind of things. That's going to build that resentment, and it's frankly just illegal.
Indeed. The fine print this time, questions over work, over salaries and rights as an employee. Our expert as ever, Raymond Kaswani, who is a partner at the legal firm Davidson & Co. As always, Raymond, really appreciate you taking time to share your knowledge. Thanks
very much.
Good to have you with us. Just a reminder, we're bringing back one of our previous conversations on the future of higher education and also preparing students for the world of work as universities place greater emphasis on employability, on affordability, with industry-ready skills. What should parents and students be looking for? I speak with Dr. Anita Patanka, who's the Executive Director of Symbiosis International University in Dubai, and Simon Bradbury, who's the Provost of De Montfort University here in Dubai, about graduate readiness, about scholarships and how higher education is evolving to meet the demands of today's job market. Catch this conversation across Mira Business FM platforms.
Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more.